Welcome to D&D Builds, where we have an outlet to make all sorts of ridiculous Dungeons & Dragons builds, and hopefully stop driving the people in our lives insane with them. Today we're going to be building the one, the only, Iron Man. This has been requested multiple times on my channel, so I thought it was about time I finally get to him. Special thanks to my amazingly kick-ass patrons who get access to my Discord, all of the character sheets for all of my builds, and a ton of other perks, even having a D&D session hosted by me. While there's a couple ways we can tackle this build, there's one thing we gotta get out of the way immediately, and that's the race. This one's pretty easy. We're gonna grab human, and not human variant, grabbing a feat or anything like that. We're going straight human. It's very rare that I do this, but Tony Stark is a pretty normal guy outside of the glowing thing in his chest. So with normal human under our belt, let's pick some stats. There are a few main strengths that Iron Man has. That's his intelligence and his charisma. Although the charisma might be more because of Robert Downey Jr. We'll also make sure to bump up our Constitution a decent amount, not because he's particularly healthy or can take a ton of hits, but just because we want to be able to help our concentration. By focusing on these three main stats, we're just going to bump those all the way up and dump the rest. Then we get a +1 to all of our stats by being a straight up human, bumping those focus skills to 16 and everything else to 9. Background is a little more complicated to choose from, but I think I'm going to go with Guild Artisan, because before you become Iron Man, you are the one selling all of the weapons to the militaries. This background gives you skill proficiencies in Insight and Persuasion's definitely going to come in handy. Also, one type of Artisan tools, but don't worry, we're going to get plenty of those later anyways. Next up, we got to choose a class, and it should be absolutely no surprise, considering he is the master tinkerer amongst the Avengers. We're going with Artificer. Artificer gives you proficiency in Tinkerer's tools, Thieves' tools, and another type of Artisan tools, so you're pretty well covered. You get saving throws in Constitution and Intelligence, which are definitely going to play into our strengths, and then you get 2 skills. We're going to grab Arcana because that's going to be the closest we get to the high technology of the Avengers, and then we're going to grab Investigation so you can try and figure out how things work a little more. At first level of Artificer, you get Magical Tinkering, allowing you to spark some magic into mundane objects. You can either force an object to shed some bright light, which we've definitely seen, emit a recorded message, or project a static visual, or even an odor or non-verbal sound. You also get 2 cantrips and some spells. The 2 cantrips I would grab are Mending to help fix your suit, and Firebolt. That way we can start replicating the repulsor blast. As far as first level spells, I would grab Faerie Fire for a lock-on targeting system to help identify your enemies, and then both identify and detect magic. These both help to replicate scanning your surroundings and getting visual feedback. Then at second level you get Infuse Item, and this is the bread and butter of any Artificer. This is where you start making magical items. You know 4 infusions to start, and while I would love to go with Returning Weapon, I think that's more for Thor. So we're going to grab some basics with Enhanced Arcane Focus, so that way you can blast a little better, giving you a +1 bonus to spell attack rolls, which automatically upgrades to +2 when you hit 10th level in this class, and Enhanced Defense to boost up your armor a little more, giving you +1 bonus to armor class, which also upgrades to +2 when you get 10th level in this class. Then I would recreate the Goggles of Night, because it's not like your armor doesn't give you some sort of night vision. And then Armor of Magical Strength. This gives you 6 charges, and when you make a strength check or a strength saving throw, you can expend one of those charges to add a bonus equal to your intelligence modifier, meaning that the intelligence that you have crafting the suit helps boost your strength. And since the suit is the thing providing you with most of your powers, this makes sense. Granted, you can only use 2 infusions at a time, but you can just choose whichever suits best for the situation. And at second level, we also get to choose 1 more spell, and I would just go ahead and grab Featherfall. That way you can slow your descent when you're falling, and pull off a cool superhero landing. At third level, you get to pick an Artificer specialty, and you get the right tool for the job. The right tool for the job allows you to produce whatever tools you need for a particular situation, which is just handy to have. While there's actually a couple specialties that might work, Artillerist works well for doing plenty of blasting, and Battlesmith is great for putting that suit of armor around the world. We're going with the upfront in the middle of battle type of Tony Stark, so it should be no surprise that we're going Armorer. When you choose the Artificer Armorer specialty, you get proficiency in heavy armor, and you automatically get proficiency in Smith's tools. And you automatically get the spells Magic Missile and Thunder Wave, which are great additions to replicate functions of your suit. Also, when you take this specialty, you get Arcane Armor. This allows you to ignore strength requirements for armor, which is especially especially handy since we really dumped strength, so now you can wear that heavy armor without any issue. Your armor functions as your spellcasting focus. As you channel the magic from that glowy thing in your chest all the way through your armor, you can don or doff your armor as an action, and the armor can't be removed against your will, while expanding to cover your entire body, although you can retract or deploy the helmet as a bonus action. Then additionally at this level, you get to choose an armor model. You can change the armor model whenever you finish a short or long rest, and that's great because there's so many armor models to choose from. If you want to go full Hulkbuster, go with the Guardian armor. This gives you Thunder Gauntlets, allowing you to punch the crap out of people, and Defensive Field, allowing you to gain temporary hit points as a bonus action. But most of the time, we're probably going to go Infiltrator. This gives you Lightning Launcher, allowing you to blast out of your hands, Powered Steps, which increases your walking speed by 5 feet, and Dampening Field, which just gives you a little bit more advantage when it comes to your stealth checks. At 4th level, you get an ability score improvement, so we're definitely going to boost up our intelligence, and with the boost of our intelligence and going to 4th level overall, you get 2 more spells. We still only have access to a 1st level spell slot, so we're going to take Absorb Elements so that way you can modify your armor for any particular situation, being able to adapt to specific kinds of elemental damage, and we're going to save the other spell for next level. At 5th level, we get extra attack from being an armor, and we get access to a higher level spell slot. You automatically get the spells Mirror Image and Shatter from being an armorer. And then as far as the spells we saved, I would grab Heat Metal just to force other people's objects to kind of overheat and malfunction. At 6th level, you get Tool Expertise, which just doubles your proficiency whenever you're using a tool you're proficient in. You also learn 2 more infusions, and you can infuse 1 more item at a time. While I was tempted to replicate the wondrous item Eyes of Charming, considering how much charisma Robert Downey Jr. has, I thought sticking to the suit's ability made a little more sense. But I think I would stick with the spell Refueling Ring, treating that as the energy core in your chest, allowing you to refill your spell slots, and at this point it's kind of like you just discovered that new element that's way more powerful. Then it's really down to Resistant Armor or Repulsion Shield. Since you do have to choose a very specific type of element that you're resistant to with Resistant Armor, and we already have Absorb Elements, I would go with Repulsion Shield. This gives you another +1 to your armor class when you wield this shield, and when you do get hit with a melee attack, you can expend one of the shield's 4 charges to push the attacker 15 feet away. At 7th level, you get Flash of Genius, basically calling somebody out for being a dumbass, allowing you to use your reaction to add your intelligence modifier to somebody else's ability check or saving throw. Then at 8th level, you get another ability score improvement, so we're going to finally max out our intelligence because Tony Stark is pretty damn smart, and you get 2 more spells, 1 from this ability score improvement and 1 from hitting 8th level. But I would save both of these for next level, because now at 9th level you get access to a higher level spell slot. Your armor specialty automatically gives you Lightning Bolt, which is definitely very Iron Man-esque, as well as Hypnotic Pattern, which doesn't help quite as much. The other 2 spells I would grab that I saved from last level are Fly, because you use that constantly, and then Haste, so you can really turn the boosters on and do some serious action in battle. The only downside is that when Haste ends, your batteries are completely drained. Also at this level, you get to add armor modifications. This allows you to infuse 2 more items from the infusions that you already know. They have to be something that you can infuse directly onto your armor though, and on a particular piece of armor. But since we already have things like Enhanced Defense and Repulsion Shield, that means we always have 2 more infusions ready to be used by our armor, which is going to be super helpful for replicating Iron Man. At 10th level, you get Magic Item Adept, allowing you to attune to up to 4 magic items at once when everybody else can usually only do 3, and you can craft items a little more quickly and a little more cheap, but it's not like money is much of an issue for you anyways. Also at 10th level, you get 1 more Cantrip, and while I was tempted to grab Lightning Lure, that's a bit more Mickey Rourke, so instead I'm going to go Booming Blade, because you can make a blade out of your armor. Also at this level, you can learn 1 more spell, and I'm definitely going to grab Tiny Servant. Now you finally have a little robot helping you out. Lastly, at 10th level, you get 2 more infusions to learn, so I would improve your helmet with Helm of Awareness, which will allow you to constantly scan your surroundings, making it so you have advantage on initiative rolls. And you also can't be surprised but this does require attunement. The other infusion I would go with is replicating a magic item, and at this level you can replicate winged boots. So now you don't need to use a spell slot in order to fly, you can just do it because it's part of your armor. Lastly, don't forget that your enhanced arcane focus and enhanced defense get boosted at this level to a +2. At 11th level you get a spell storing item, allowing you to stash a spell of 1st level or 2nd level that requires an action to cast into one of your inventions, and you can use that spell later. You can wind up using that spell up to 10 times with your current intelligence modifier, so make sure you choose that spell wisely. At 12th level you get an ability score improvement, and while Robert Downey Jr. does try to stay pretty damn healthy, Constitution just doesn't make sense compared to some of the other Avengers. So we're going to boost up our charisma, bringing it to 18. Since we hit an even level in this class, you get to choose one more spell to learn, but we're going to save that for next level, because now at 13th level, you get a 4th level spell slot. Being an armorer allows you to automatically learn Fire Shield and Greater Invisibility. While we don't see that a ton in the Avengers movies, there are some stealth armors in the comics. As far as the spell we actually get to choose, I was tempted to take Fabricate because that allows you to create whatever you need for a particular situation as long as you have the ability to know how to make it, but instead I'm going to go with Arcane Eye. That way you can send up a drone to scout for you. At 14th level you get Magic Item Savant. Now you can attune to up to 5 magic items, and you can ignore all race, class, spell, and level requirements when it comes to attuning to a magic item. You also get to learn 2 more infusions, so there's no way we can avoid Arcane Prepulsion armor at this level, increasing our walking speed by 5 feet, and essentially giving you a rocket punch, although you don't use that a ton in the movies. The last little interesting benefit allows you to replicate a missing limb, and this is going to be great for helping Bucky out from time to time, even though it's usually Black Panther doing the helping there. Then I would just top it off with a Ring of Protection, gives your AC and your saving throws another +1. Since this is an even level of Artificer, you get to choose one more spell to learn, and I would choose Summon Construct, so you can summon another suit of armor to help you out. At 15th level you get Perfected Armor. If you're in your Hulkbuster Guardian armor, you get to pull people in and make a melee attack against them, and if you're in your Infiltrator armor, which you will be most of the time, your Lightning Launcher does some additional effects, including dealing an extra 1d6 lightning damage on any follow-up attack, which is done at advantage. At 16th level you get another ability score improvement, so we're going to max out our charisma, and you can learn one more spell, but we're going to save that for next level. At 17th level you get access to a 5th level spell slot, which is the highest you get as an Artificer. Your Armorer specialty automatically grants you Passwall and Wall of Force. Wall of Force is super helpful for shielding you and your allies, and the spell I saved would be all about creating an incredible invention. Bigby's Hand is a super fun spell to help you bitch smack your enemies. At 18th level you get Magic Item Master, allowing you to attune to up to 6 magic items at once. And on top of that, you learned one more spell. So I would go with Creation, since you did invent an entirely new element. Granted, most of the things you create with Creation only last for a certain amount of time, but it's still kinda cool to have. Finally, the last thing you get at 18th level is 2 more infusions. And the 2 infusions I would get here are the Belt of Giant Strength. That way you really have some Hulkbuster armor, because that can boost your strength over 20. And I would grab Amulet of Health. This will replicate the actual thing keeping you alive hanging out in your chest, as it boosts your Constitution to 19, since we did kind of ignore putting additional points into it. Then at 19th level you get another ability score improvement, and with all of the important stats already significantly boosted, we could take 1 point and put it into 2 different stats, rounding it out. Or we could have a little more fun with it, which is what we're gonna do. So I would grab a feat, and I would go with Magic Initiate. With Magic Initiate, since you already have max out Charisma, I would choose from the Warlock spell list. You get to learn 2 cantrips from the Warlock spell list and 1 first level spell. Now we can really get some hardcore repulsor blasts by choosing Eldritch Blast. These do pure force damage, and that feels a little closer to a repulsor blast. The other cantrip I would grab doesn't really matter too much, but I'd grab Thunderclap. That way you can really come in with a boom. This can deal some thunder damage to anyone within 5 feet of you. Then, as far as a first level spell, I would just grab Illusory Script. That's a bit more like creating a hologram for any particular situation. Then finally at 20th level, you get one more spell to learn, so I would just grab Animate objects, and have all the little pieces of your armor act independently if you really want to. And you get Soul of Artifice. This gives you +1 bonus to all saving throws per magic item you're currently attuned to. And with the ability to attune to up to 6 items at this level of Artificer, that gives you a +6 in all of your saving throws, which is pretty massive. And the other aspect of Soul of Artifice makes it so that way if you're reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, you can use your reaction to end one of your Artificer infusions, causing you to drop to 1 hit point instead of 0. And this is perfect for replicating when you're really taking a lot of damage and it's just blasting off pieces of your armor to take the hits. Special thanks to Trevor and Dr. or DR, not sure which one they go by using that name, for requesting Iron Man and this build. And even more of a special thanks to my patrons, because they are absolutely incredible and they help support me in doing this stuff. You can feel free to check out the link to my Patreon in the description down below. And even if you can't contribute to my Patreon, feel free to subscribe. I post tons of D&D content, and that way you don't miss out on any of it. If there's anything you would do differently in this build, or anything you'd like to see in the future, let me know in the comments down below. And finally, if you made it to the end of this video, let me know by hitting that like button, and I'll be here hoping you roll at least 3 nat 20s in your next D&D session, especially if you're playing as the genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, Tony Stark, aka Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.